everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the brand new version of Ninja Turtles. There have been like, how many? 20 different versions of movies and shows. This is a franchise that keeps on remaking itself and reinventing itself. And I will say, I was born just after the Ninja Turtles, hit their peak, right? So when I was growing up, we were leaving the Ninja Turtles phase and the Power Rangers and Pokemon started becoming the thing, right? So I've never really gotten the chance to like become a fan of this property. Like, obviously I know of it. I've seen that original 80s movie. I've seen like little snippets of the various shows throughout the years just through cultural osmosis, right? Like, so, but I've never actually like sat down and watched a whole show or watched all the other movies. It's never really just been a thing that I managed to get into, but I know of it. I know like the basic premise and like the names of the characters. So I'm walking into this movie not fresh, as like I don't know anything about the franchise, but definitely not with like this level of attachment that I know some other people are absolutely going to have walking in. However, I will say this movie is fantastic. It's delightful. I don't know how else to put it. This reminded me so much, and for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, like the style choices, the way the animation is kind of done, of watching Across the Spider-Verse, not Across the Spider-Verse, the first one, Into the Spider-Verse, for the first time. It feels like there was so much care and so much heart put into this, and it wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna make like a small kids movie for little kids and whatever, just make dumb fart jokes or something. It's like, no, they really made them all characters, and they all have their little arcs, and they all the bad guys and Splinter and April O'Neil, like everyone, no one here is just like a cardboard cutout. Like everyone has real things that they want and reasons why they want those things, and the motivations all make sense, and some of the characters are mirroring each other, and so they kind of learn lessons that way. And the world building, like they don't follow the I guess the lore of what you would traditionally see. Like, I know a big one is that the villain Superfly, I think traditionally he's supposed to be Baxter Stockman, the scientist who transforms into Superfly. In this one, Baxter Stockman, spoiler, he gets killed right away. He's dead within the first like 10 minutes of this movie, and he was creating a bunch of different mutant animals, including Rocksteady and Bebop, which means those were never humans. They were always animals that were affected by the ooze that Baxter Stockman was creating. And then that ooze, of course, one of the vials drops into the sewer and creates the turtles. So they do mess around with the lore a little bit. Like, none of those, Rocksteady and Bebop were never humans. Superfly is not Baxter Stockman. He is his own mutant fly. But I think, titling this Mutant Mayhem really works for the title, because this entire thing it's not just because everyone is a mutant, but it's about constantly trying to mutate further. And by the end of the movie, they're fighting this giant mutated monstrosity that Superfly has turned into. So like, they definitely earned that title of Mutant Mayhem. But yeah, just the other thing is the turtles, the way that they made them into slightly younger teens. They're all about 15 this time, and just from what I've seen, usually the turtles are kind of depicted as older teens or even young adults at some of them. Like they're supposed to be teenagers, but the way that they act, they're like, oh, are you guys like 20? Like, you're not acting the way like a teenager would act. But these definitely act like young teens. They act like they're 15-year-olds. They're kind of joking with each other. They're making so many pop culture references, and that definitely kind of grounds it in a way that's like, okay, these definitely sound like things that they would be talking about. And they have, they do a lot of growing in this. Like, they get into, they've been trained in the ninja arts, but they've never actually fought anyone before. So they get into their first fight, and it's, it's very clumsily done, but they managed to win. And they're like, whoa, we did, so just they go through so much growth in this, and it just really feels like it's such a genius idea to like have this. I'm assuming there's going to be more, so having this first movie with them being so young and inexperienced in actual combat. And it's not even just that, but like they decide to be heroes because they want to be accepted by the world, and they're like, well, if we help people, then they'll like us and we can actually go out in public. We don't have to hide in the sewers, because they were taught that humans are bad. And they have a funny thing where like, oh, the humans are gonna find you and they're gonna milk you in labs, because rats get milked in labs, I guess. So there's like a whole milking joke. It's a whole thing. But anyways, they were basically taught that humans were evil, and then so that's a whole thing that even Splinter has to go through his own arc, because he's spent his whole life thinking humans were evil, and so he's kind of mirrored by Superfly's thinking of the same way. And basically it's like, whereas Splinter took the turtles and we all hid in the sewers for our whole lives, Superfly's his whole plan, it's kind of like X-Men 1, where he's like, I'm gonna create this device where everyone in the globe, the animals are all gonna mutate and turn into mutants like us, and then the humans, they're probably gonna be enslaved or killed off or whatever, right? And so that's his plan. And so there is a point where literally Splinter and Superfly is like, hey, you're just like me, help me activate this machine. And that's when Splinter has to realize, like, oh wait, maybe me telling even my sons to fear humans for their entire lives, maybe this hasn't been the best way to go about it. So just on every level, everyone has like their own little arcs, and it's just like, I guess it's feels like it's rare for this level of care to be put into some animated movies. Like it feels like sometimes they just pump these things out like a Minions movie or something, where it's like, oh, it's just put some fart jokes and banana jokes, who cares? But yeah, just even all the other mutants, like Superfly has this whole crew of different mutants, and they all play their little parts. And my favorite, I don't remember their names. They all have like funny mutant names, but there's like a gecko played by Paul Rudd, and he is the funniest character in this movie for me. There's a lot of great characters. There's a manta that just wants to sing. There's a cockroach that just it gets gross, but in a funny way, with the cockroach and Splinter. It's pretty funny. But yeah, just overall, man, they did such a good job, and like I feel like, because I never really got my entry point, like I never watched any, even when they were rebooting the series and bringing out a new version of the cartoon, which in my lifetime they've done like 5 times already. I never bothered, to like get into it, because I always felt like it's just too late. I didn't grow up with the franchise. It's too late to get into it now. I'm too old. It doesn't matter. But watching this, I'm like, you know what? I feel like I can get into this now. Like, I feel like, okay, I can add this to, like, I'm a fan of Ninja Turtles, maybe specifically this version, but yeah, I feel I'm very much a fan of what they've done here. Even April O'Neil, they have the jokes just all work. They have this whole segment where her thing is that she can't be in front of a camera because the lights and the people filming her, and then like it all just like makes her throw up, and it's the funniest. It's real gross, but it's done in a really funny way, and so she has to like overcome that. And yeah, just they did such a good job. They did, like, this doesn't technically come out until I think next weekend, but I managed to watch this sneak peek, early screening of it. But man, I hope this gets the attention that it deserves, because the animation looks amazing, and the crew just works so well together. And they did something here at the very end that I definitely did not expect, and I don't think this has ever been done in any of the other versions of this story. It ends with the Teenage Ninja Turtles, again, spoilers, it ends with them getting exactly what they wanted. They wanted to be accepted by the world and prove that, like, basically they have to learn that, hey, instead of just trying to help people for like a greedy way of just like, oh, we're only doing this so that way it can get filmed and that way we can be accepted, we should help people because it's the right thing to do. And so they do that. And then April O'Neil manages to cover the story, so she gets over her thing. And because of that, now the whole city knows that they're the heroes that stopped this giant mutant monster, and they are now accepted by society. And they have, they still live in the sewers, and they have all the other mutant crew now on their side, and they all became friends. And so now they've expanded their family in the sewers with all these other mutants. But now they actually do go out and go to high school, so they're gonna be there with like normal human kids, and they get to like fulfill that kind of dream of being accepted in society. And that just, it feels like you now get to take whatever sequel they make in such a different direction than any of the other shows, but because it feels like none of the other shows have ever like kind of broken away from like the basic structure of what this is, right? Like they've always like, no, they live in the sewers, they stay hidden except for like one or two humans that they're friends with, and that's what the franchise is, right? But now it's like, okay, no, actually they're very open about it. All of New York knows who they are. They get to go to high school, now they can essentially be a bunch of Peter Parkers. Not even Peter Parker, because they don't have secret identities. Now they can just be superheroes going to high school and doing high school stuff, so like the next one can just deal with that, the fact that like, oh, we're in the middle class, but something's happening, we gotta go and save the day again, right? So that can be like the movie, so they did such a good job with this, with all the characterization of everyone. And I honestly, like I said, I feel like for the first time I get to enter this fandom, like I actually enjoy this version of the characters, and they did such a good job, guys. Like I don't know, I'm amazed, honestly. Like I'm excited to go watch this again. So anyways, that's Mutant Mayhem. Like I said, they don't follow strictly with the lore of like, how all the mutants were created. I think that's gonna bother some old school fans who are like, no, Rocksteady and Bebop were humans first. It's like, well, not in this version, right? But I think overall they managed to stick with the core of the characters, and they managed to like actually give them more personality and more like motivations than I feel like they've ever been given before. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, guys. All right, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.